Fear is just an emotional response that freezes you. That's all fear is. They help you understand what fear is in general. During training, they're threatening to kill you all the time just to see if you're going to lock up. I don't know if I'm afraid of anything, because if you're afraid, you just don't act, if you understand that.
All right, guys, welcome back. Today we are joined by Thom Shea. Thom, appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. But just a brief introduction. You're retired Navy SEAL. You were a senior chief, special ops, sniper, instructor. You're also an author of Unbreakable, a Navy SEAL's way of life, and 3 Simple Things. And currently you are the founder of the Baseline Experience. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit about what the Baseline Experience is and kind of where you're currently at in life?
I probably needs about a 5-minute conversation. Like you guys are showing me through the plant.
Yeah.
Needs a little context.
Okay.
So, retired about 12 years ago, and I wouldn't say I knew anything about money, because when you're in the SEAL teams, you couldn't pay somebody to do the job. So it's not something that you know. And you make money, but I got out, retired, moved here without any job opportunity. Just, we liked Greenville. It seemed to be at least military friendly compared to New York or Chicago or things like that. And I had written a series of letters during a combat deployment to my wife, Stacy, with no intent that anybody read it. And in retirement, I didn't think any book would come out. Stacy, my wife, gets it vetted through the Navy and through special operations to get clearance, because I had a top secret clearance. And is anything I'm saying, going to break that secret clearance, whatever it's called. And in May of 14, we're sitting around the table, and Stacy's like, "Hey, our book's on the New York Times bestseller list." And I'm like, "What book?" And I had written it under the title. I just wrote, I compiled a series of letters into a book, not that I'm a writer, under the title Spartan Woman, because I wanted to tell the kids, men suck without strong women. And I saw that in the SEAL teams. So long story longer, the book hits the New York Times bestseller list, not because we were good business savvy booksellers. So I'm looking for Spartan Woman on Amazon, and there isn't one. She goes, "No, it's Unbreakable, Navy SEAL's way of life." I'm like, I was one of those SEALs, like, I hate when SEALs go public. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my God, all my friends are now going to hate me, because I already hate myself, and it does pretty well, even though it's not your question. So if you want to write a book, I say this to people: you're not going to make money, because the author doesn't get paid for 6 months. So the book comes out in May, and she had gone through an independent publisher, which means you pay for every copy. And so the publisher comes to us and says, "Hey, good job. You sold 10,000 copies." I'm like, "That's cool. We need the money." I'm like, "I don't have a job. I have retirement. I don't know if I can afford $20,000. And so I went to a business mentor of mine who had been helping me for about 4 months. I proposed to him, "Hey, I need $20,000. He goes, "Well, tell me what happened." I said, "So the book is sold. It costs $2 for me to print. It sells at $20 a book, but I don't get paid for 6 months." He goes, "So you'll get paid in 6 months? Okay, here's the $20,000. I said, "No interest on it?" He goes, "No, just get you up and moving." Next month, "Hey, Jerry, I need $40,000. Hey, Jerry, I need $100,000. And he's like, "Cool." So finally, the book, I get paid from May, and I go back, and I hate debt, so I paid Jerry back. And in that period of time, people would read the book and say, "Hey, can you come speak to my company," or whatever. I started doing presentations, and the journey to get to the baseline. So a lot of keynotes, which are cool, but it's like taking cocaine. It's really exciting and you make money, but you need the next hit, and it's not a business model to move on. And the book is, everything in the book industry, it sells a lot and then it tapers off. And as it started tapering off after a year, Stacy and I are like, you travel all the time like you're a Navy SEAL. Because I was going to keynote speeches like 3-4 times a month, making cool money, and they're exhausting. I don't care what anybody says, because you travel and then you have to be 100%, during the keynote,
Ready to go
and interactive with people. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can continue this. And a company from a manufacturer called Fanuc said, hey, can you come in? We want you to consult with us on how to set up a high performance team. And I'm like, I don't know if my brain can segue to business, but I'll come in and do what I can. And so that blew into a consulting thing where I was going into businesses and help them restructure how you function higher as a human being, as a team, and what leaders do and what they're not supposed to do. Like, you're not supposed to be asked what color paint. It's not the leader's job, And it was cool for about 2 years. And I'm gonna pull away from that. And I got into a training model. Like you two would say, hey, we want you to teach us what you've learned in the SEAL teams. I put a method to it. And so for the next 5 years, I was just teaching leaders how to be good in 5 areas: how to be healthy, how to lead, how to run a business, a structured way to run a business, how to have a good marriage. Nothing worse than when a bad marriage happens, the company gets affected. And how to keep learning, like nothing worse than the top guy who knows everything. And how to kind of have spiritual inclination, whatever that would mean. That I put a method to it and did that for about 3 years. And I kept stiff-arming the idea of, can you put an off-site event for my company together so that in 4 days we can ramp up for 6 months, stay excited, stay relevant, be nimble, or whatever that new buzzword is. And I heard it like 30 times. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And when you're a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, you can only kick one at a time.
Right.
So I'm like, ooh, man, I don't know if I can train people and do these events. So about 3 years ago, an ex-Ranger who raises capital for real estate and I partnered with, like everything, you got to get clients. So I call it butts and seats, do the event, and what the follow-up would be. And we've now done 11. So the experience of the baseline is the idea that, can you make complex life things simple? And if you guys don't make things simple in your business and it stays complex, nobody can do anything about it. And walking through your plant, there's complex ideas that somebody has made into a simple process. So in 4 days, we use shooting as a segue into that conversation.
Okay.
So it's cool. Maybe that's the big selling point is, hey, I get to go shoot with Navy SEALs, and I bring in ex-Navy SEALs and some Delta guys merely to show you how to make something complex simple. And then I call it, we close the door at night and say, all right, here's the deal. Where in your life is there complexity? And I wouldn't have thought this, 12 years ago. Relationships at home are very complex and there's no method to them. And business is complex. And in like the first 2 nights, how to dissolve that complexity into simple processes. And then you walk away going, oh my gosh. And the multiple events that we've had has made a profound difference to the people that come.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's
long-winded way of
but that's interesting how, just letters to your wife turned into a book, and then that book turns into speaking, and then that, it's crazy how those chain of events can.
I don't know if I would have laid that out as the business model. You know what I mean?
Right. Didn't see that one coming.
No idea whatsoever about, keynote presentations and how do you charge for that and all that crazy business side of it. But I tell you what, the guy who started the SEAL teams, a guy named Draper Kaufman, smart dude. He started a process called Hell Week. and something happens in Hell Week. And here, other than you feel like you're going to die for 5 days. And he made a point of saying this: the only thing that matters is you learn how to keep your word and never give up. I'm like, well, shit, I know how to do that. And that process, if you don't give up on something, you'll figure out a way to do it. And if you can make a promise to somebody and keep it, you're probably in the 1 percentile of human beings on the planet. Like we're talking about the government projects, or they say one thing and then X happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, if people would just keep their word. So that's the only skill set I have right now is I can make a promise and keep it, even if I don't know how it's going to work out. And I think I know that's the key to being successful.
Yeah, that's
before you know the process. You know what I mean?
So obviously, being a SEAL has been a major part of your life, and kind of started the segue into where you're at now. So what kind of drove the decision, when you were younger to get into the military and eventually into the SEALs? Was it kind of a thing last minute? You didn't really know what you were going to do career path wise, or did you kind of always know that you were going to be in the military in some way?
I always wanted to be a warrior, whatever a little kid thinks that is. It's clearly not what it really is. I grew up in southern Indiana in a farming town. It was about a mile long. Corn, beer, deer hunting, wrestling, football, track, the quintessential, farm boy. And really good at football. And I got a full ride to Tennessee that I didn't take, and I went to West Point instead. So I went there for 3 years and failed out in English, which I think is the funniest conversation in the world. And then you write a book later.
Right.
And but during that time of hitting rock bottom, like coming back home, I was the golden boy, and now I couldn't even get into a high school. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I had a guy who had been a SEAL kind of take me under his wing. And he just asked me a simple question: "What do you think about all the time?" He goes, "Man, I want to be in the military." And he's like, "Well, the Army's probably not for you right now." And I'm like, "Oh, I always wanted to be a SEAL, but bro, I don't know how to swim." And he said, "Sign up and you'll figure out how to swim." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll trust you." So I signed up for the program, and I couldn't pass the swim test. And after 3 months of trying, I finally got in. And then my track to being a SEAL was very long. Hell Week is week 5, so I started in a class.
That's early.
Yeah, it was 3 phases of buds.
I was not expecting that.
So here's what they do, in case you've never heard this, and I've never heard anybody say this. They take that 4 weeks of training and they put it into 5 days of training. So whatever you did in 4 weeks of long 8-hour days, they don't condense it. They put everything that you did into a 5-day training, and you don't get any sleep. You think on paper there's sleep, but as a student, you just didn't know they didn't yell at you for an hour and a half, and it was okay to sleep, but you never remember to sleep.
Yeah.
They never say, "Okay, go to your bunk, take a shower, sleep. You're wet, cold for 5 days." So I started class 195, got to Hell Week, and got a concussion, and had to start again from 0. 196, dislocated my shoulder in Hell Week. Skipped 197 because they're like, "Hey, we know you're not going to quit." Because every time I would get injured, they'd come to the hospital and go, "All right, you have 2 options: quit or stay." So the first time with the concussion, I'm like, "I'll stay." I had 2 weeks off. It was cool. And second one, dislocated shoulder, and I was a corpsman or a medic. I'm like, I know I can't recover from this. They're like, "Quit or stay." I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm not going to quit. Okay. So you get to take 2 months off and come back, and you still have to pass all the tests. So I missed a class. 198 started, and make it to Hell Week, have pneumonia. 2 hours before, if I would have made it to Wednesday night, I would have able to roll forward. Like, well, we know you're not going to quit. And Thursday and Friday are nominal. 2 hours from the end, or right before the Wednesday cutoff, I passed out, woke up in the hospital, and they came to the hospital. All right, you got two options, quit or stay. Bro, I can't pass the test. You don't have to pass tests to class up. I'm like, I'd like to stay. The only problem is it starts Monday. I'm like, bro, there's no way to do this with pneumonia. Quit or stay. I'm like, dude, oh, I'll stay. Got beat every day, made it to Hell Week. I was an hour from the cutoff again, and it was done. I had all 5 lobes of my lungs were about 40% filled with water. And I don't remember much of that Hell Week. And they came and said, you don't have any options anymore. You have scar tissue in your lungs. Bye. And got kicked out of the program. And 9 months later, I made my way back. And in that process of being there, working at a hospital, I'd go in every day to the admiral's office and ask to go back. And about 4 months into it, he said, the Navy needs you here for 2 years. I can't sign it. It's not up to me. I'm ordering you not to come back. That was on Friday. On Monday, I went back, and he goes, if you come back again, I'm going to take you to Admiral's Mast, and I'm going to take one of your ranks. So Tuesday, I came back, and he took a rank from me. And Wednesday, I came back. And for the next three and a half months, I kept going back every day. And he finally came out, signed the chit, and said, you're the dumbest guy I've ever met, or you were meant to go there. And so I went back on a Monday and started class 207. And we started out with 111 and graduated 11.
Wow.
What class was that?
207.
207.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
a lot.
Not because I'm good. The
Yeah.
testament is, man, if you don't, and I know that's the key skill as a human being that you guys probably see all the time, man.
Yeah.
People just give up, even incrementally give up.
And, even like you were saying, coming down to the last hour, I've seen so many people quit when they're like right there at the cusp of breaking through or that next big success or whatever. So, I mean, for you to keep going that long that's admirable.
That's what I began to bring into, the transition into the business world is as I was consulting with people, man, companies give up way too early. Or they have, like you guys were saying, the wrong people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in the SEALs, you got the right people because you vetted them so earnestly that when you vet the right people, the company or the team becomes extremely efficient at everything.
Yeah.
And none of those guys are going to quit. They probably should quit more often than.
And I would not compare this to Hell Week whatsoever, but in our world of manufacturing, the busiest time of year for us is pretty much the April, May, June time frame. I don't know if that's specific for every single manufacturing company, but for the ones in our realm, it usually is. And Travis has said, I don't know how many times the saying has become where if a plane crashes through the building right now, we're going to ask the survivors if they know how to run a CNC machine.
Yes.
Yeah,
would,
100%.
And again, I mean, not comparing it to Hell Week by any means, but if the guys can survive through that busy period and like just the chaos that it brings on with it, those are usually the ones that, have been here 4, 5, 6 years and on.
when you sign up that you are going to be a Navy SEAL, is that part of the recruiting process? You just have to go through the training, but like you have to pass Hell Week and all that. Or did you just join and then get into it?
The SEAL program is the only program that you can sign up from as a civilian directly into.
Okay.
So the Ranger program, you have to already be in the Army.
Okay.
And you have to already be a soldier. And then you sign up to the Ranger program. The Special Forces or Green Beret, you have to have already been in for 4 years, and then you can push to go Green Beret. And Delta is, you have to be probably in for 10 years before you go Delta.
Okay.
So I knew when I finally signed up for the SEAL program, I got a contract that says, as long as you don't screw up, we'll keep you in the pipeline to be a Navy SEAL. And that process goes from boot camp to Coronado, which is BUDS training, basic underwater demolition SEAL training. And then you go through an advanced program, and then you check into a team. And the process is arduous, hard, and it treats itself very quickly. Still only get 13% people who start the program on day one graduate at the end of it, which is, if you were a business, that's a lot of money you're spending.
Yeah.
on 13.
What's the timeline from start to reporting to a team, you would think?
Oh, well, starting buds, it's a 6-month program.
Okay.
And then you go to a course called SEAL qualification training. So in buds, they don't really teach you skills. They teach you how to go through Hell Week. They teach you a skill called hydrographic reconnaissance, which is you're in the water freezing your ass off, getting the depth of the water, which is just mind-numbing. And they teach you how to dive, which is a skill, but it's not a tactical skill yet. And then they teach you how to shoot, but you don't know how to move and shoot on a SEAL platoon. So SQT, SEAL Qualification Training, teaches you the tactical skills from that baseline effort of basic skills. Now we want to put you into a unit and teach you how to operate together, all these multiple skill sets. So from buds through SQT, it's about 13 months. And then you check into a team, and the team, you're in a platoon for 2 years, then you're in another platoon for 2 years. And you can do a third platoon in a row. After the third, they make you go be an instructor, because at that point in life, I'm done. I'm done. And I was gone probably 258 days a year for 23 years.
Wow.
Away from home.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's a great job. It gives, every time you want something from it, it'll give you 20. Hey, I want to do, yeah, cool, go do that.
Sure.
The problem is you don't have anything else. And so after I did 3 platoons at Team 2, which is my first platoon or team, and I was like, I'm done. I was about ready to submit my paperwork just to get out. And a guy named Ryan Zinke, who's a congressman right now from Montana, said, hey, I'm going to go be the XO of Bud's training. You want to come as instructor? I'll do that, but I'm not going to go on another deployment. Even though it's fun, you don't have anything left.
Right.
It'd be like you working in the plant for 5 years straight without going home. Like,
Right.
Cool, I make a lot of money, but I'm dead.
I don't know if this is true or not, and I'm sure you hear a ton of SEAL questions, all the things. But something I always took from movies and what I seen is, if you can get me to the water, I'm okay, right? Is that something the SEALs really feel that way? Like, just get me.
Probably the opposite.
Oh, it's the opposite? Yeah, get me out of this water.
Get me out of the damn
Yeah,
water. The
yeah.
water is the most complex environment in the world,
Okay.
because when it goes wrong so quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's probably the only differentiating factor from SEALs to Delta.
Okay, is the
is
water.
The water.
Yeah.
And you get really good in the water
Yeah.
you can only do basic stuff. So get me to my feet. If you
Yeah.
can get me on my feet,
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
Now, one thing I'm always intrigued by, and this could be, just from the internet or podcast or whatever you hear, but it seems like with SEAL team guys, the camaraderie and brotherhood and just the tight-knit group that y'all become, are you still lifelong friends with everybody that, graduated in your
Well, that's the
207
paradox.
class?
When you're with them, you're consumed with each other. What you ultimately end up with through military training is a highly tactical, technical operator that can do quite a bit with or without their weapon. How the different special operations get to this top level, here's the top level. There's no level above it. If you train enough and you have the right people and the right tactics and the right skills, you can only attain this level. It's just kind of a notional level. Delta's up here, SEAL Team 6 is up here. The teams don't quite get there because regular teams don't train as much in a specific skill. They're the jack of all trades, so they're maybe a level below the top level. And, regular military doesn't train enough, so they're called like a tier 3 level. It's called tier 4, regular military. How the SEAL teams get there to this top level is we integrate each other into everything all the time. So you're always working with somebody else. You're never individual, and they beat you up physically if you try to do something by yourself. Like even some rules during combat or when you're in the water, you can't be more than 6 feet away from your buddy. And if you break that rule, it's like a cardinal rule, they'll eventually get you out. You can break it once, but in a firefight, SEAL teams fight towards each other first. The enemy doesn't matter. So I'm taking fire, and I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm going to find you first. The Delta program, which is a beautiful program, they're trained all individually. You don't have a name, you have a number and a color. And it's your specific individual skills that they're trying to hone first, and then they integrate you with other people once you get through their selection program. So you become very individually competent when you go through Delta training. In SEAL training, you're never without somebody else. So you're accomplishing things a lot more. It's like one person can only do so much. If you put 18 guys, you can do something very quickly, and you rely on each other. So the biggest distinguishing factor in those different military units is how they got there. In the SEAL teams, it's all about each other. The enemy I don't care about the enemy. I don't have any emotional response to the enemy. We're taking fire. Where's Shane? Okay, now I got Shane. Where's the enemy? Do we even want to fight this? Let's just leave. You know what I'm saying? So you make decisions based on each other. But you go from being tight with you, and then I go over here with Andy, and I spend 2 years with him, and then I go somewhere with Jimmy and that unit. So you're used to just, okay, hey, bro, see you.
Okay.
And so you don't keep those weird connections that you would think. Very intense for 2 years, and then on Monday,
Move on.
you've moved on. Probably why the easiest way is just, like men just get divorced. Like my woman's done. I'm just going to find another one. Yeah. And but it's very intense, and then it's nothing. I probably have out of the 6 platoons I was in, 3 friends from
really
day or platoon 1.
So that kind of goes into my next question then. That's obviously something where it's misunderstood, whether it's just my misunderstanding or everybody. What's one of the biggest misconceptions, that civilians have for Navy SEALs?
I'm relatively big. Most SEALs are 5'9", 5'11", less than 200 pounds, and you would never notice them from anybody else.
Remember that, Travis.
I know.
Could run into one anyway.
You couldn't pick them up.
Yeah.
Right.
My wife says I can always tell how a SEAL walks. I'm like,
really?
I don't look at their butts. I have no idea. But they all, just if you're doing the same thing all the time, everybody will kind of look the same. She can distinguish them. I'm sure other girls can too as well. But I wouldn't be able to look at a guy and go, he's a SEAL.
Is it the same number that makes up a team? Is it 6 on a team? How many?
Oh, no. There's each team has there's 8 platoons of 18 guys in a platoon.
Okay.
That's relatively the number. Sometimes it goes up or down depending on.
And when you get deployed, it's going to be 18 going in.
Guys, yeah.
That's pretty cool. And y'all have a specific job. There's a corpsman.
Yep. You have a primary job and then a secondary job, and then if Shane dies, I take over his job.
Okay.
So I'm versed in everybody's job, but on each mission I have a specific job that I have to do. And
is that ever changing, or did you have like a primary?
Changing.
Okay, always changing.
Unless you're in a leadership role, and then your job is to only organize.
Okay.
Make decisions. But,
and when something comes down, you have so many hours to study the task at hand, and you're making decisions based on that as a group, like together. If this goes wrong, you're talking together about how it's going to go forward, what's going bad, what's going good, kind of like
that's probably the best question. The misconception from the civilian community to at least the SEAL teams is how leadership decisions are made.
Yeah.
You cannot dictate to a SEAL anything. I can't tell them what to do.
Yeah.
So I always called it, when I was a platoon chief, which is the enlisted guy responsible for all tactical decision. I called it putting meat on the table. This is the mission that it's when we get it, it's very gray. It's never specific.
Right.
Like go after bin Laden. How would you guys do it? So they go forward, like the point man and the snipers, they take their section of how this target and look at it, how would I set up? And I don't go, well, that's stupid. It's their life.
Right.
You don't have to I just kind of put meat on the table and take my hand off because they're grabbing for it. And all the 90% of the tactical decisions are made by the guys. And then you as a leader just compile it because they don't know all the information. We're not going to be able to fly there. What would be another way to go? Well, let's just steal some vehicles. Okay, let's steal vehicles. How are we going to get out? So they're making all those decisions, and you're just chiming in, trying to organize the disorganized thing that's presented. And never barking. There's never authoritarian leadership in the SEAL teams. Just I have a specific role, and I have to compile things and kind of look at the 18 things that are going in 18 different directions and try to get them to go north.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't want to go north, hey, what the hell's going on that I'm not seeing? Hey, there's 80 guys over there. Okay, we're not going north. We're going to go east. And it's never dictatorial. And if you're yelling at somebody, they're probably going to beat you up.
Right. You gotta have a different leadership, mentality.
And the least
in that room.
important job in the SEAL teams is the leader.
Yeah.
They can do it without you. If you die, they go, excuse me, hold my beer. Now it's my job.
Right.
Within 5 seconds, they're already moving on. Which is I wish companies were organized that way, but and they thoroughly beat ego out of you.
One question that I have that, you look at military guys, especially, Navy SEALs, as just these, hardened brass guys that just no fear or anything like that. Through your time in the SEALs or even outside of SEALs and now in life, what's some fear that, you're not ashamed of now or, have had to admit later in life?
They frame up fear in a way that you can understand it. Fear is just an emotional response that freezes you. That's all fear is. Like fear of public speaking. So people who have trouble, imagine if you couldn't, I don't like to talk in front of somebody. And then they say, hey, that's just a response. So look at a girl in the audience and think she doesn't have clothes on and talk to her. Don't talk to the whole audience. So they help you understand what fear is in general. And then during training, they're threatening to kill you all the time just to see if you're going to lock up. So the people who quit SEAL training are people who engage fear way too often. So as you progress through training, I don't care. I don't know if I'm afraid of anything. There's things that I don't like to do, but I'm going to go do them anyway. Because if you're afraid, you just don't act, if you understand that. So it's probably a good moniker to say special operators don't have a lot of fear.
It didn't freak you out floating in that ocean in the middle of the night?
Never.
Never?
I was so cold and scared. You're like,
You
I
just
don't even
didn't.
care.
If something took my leg off, you're like,
Yeah, it
"Good."
doesn't, in depth of water, who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's 100 foot deep.
Yeah.
You're still going to drown in the first 3 feet.
Yeah.
I mean,
That part wouldn't. It's just
yeah,
like-
they threaten you so often that you're like, okay. It'd be
getting-
like somebody constantly threatening you that the money's not going to come in.
yeah.
Oh, we're going to keep moving.
They're almost essentially beating the fear out of you,
I got you.
essentially,
I
to
got you.
where
Eventually
you
you're
have
like,
to look at it
okay.
differently.
Yeah.
Somebody's threatening to kill me again. Oh,
No.
stand in line. There's
Yeah.
a whole line of people that have
Yeah.
done that and nobody's done it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep moving and figuring things out. And the the transition from the teams to now was much harder to endure than training. because now I'm by myself. I'm used to being with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And every decision has a negative impact. Very positive, very few positive impacts, because the first decision you make is always wrong.
Yeah.
And it was much harder transitioning than it was combat. Combat was simple.
When I was, kind of looking up and researching you a little bit, one thing that I came across was you talk about the 3 simple things.
Mm-hmm.
Why do so many people fail at those 3 simple things?
Well, let's go over the 3 simple things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Imagine there being 5 areas of life that all humans have. Everybody has physical health. The physical body is an area of human life. Your ability to learn is another area. I call it intellectual capacity. Work, I call it wealth. The ability to do something that you value and be compensated for it, which I think is the definition of a business. If you don't value business, there ain't enough money in the world to pay you. You know what I mean? And then everybody's in a relationship, either at work or the dude in the cave that doesn't like people still is in a relationship with them. And then spirituality, those 5 areas. So those are the 5 areas every human being has. What are the simple things that you would do? They're different in all 5, but in making something complex simple, you have to be offense, defense, and strategy centered in all 5 of those areas. So how would that break down into the physical area? And I call it baseline. So when you don't negotiate with a baseline, you always win. So here's how to be healthy. You have to work out 20 minutes a day, and every day that ends in Y. It's not negotiable, and people don't do it. You have to have three, it doesn't have to be 3 stretches, but you have to stretch your hamstrings, you have to stretch your knees, and you have to hang from something. It's called brachiation. If you do those 3 stretches, your health goes way higher, and it's simple. Maybe a minute and a half total. And then don't eat sugar and drink 6 glasses of water.
I like that.
Simple.
Right.
And nobody does them. They want hacks. They want somebody else to do them, or I'm old. Well, okay, I don't know what old has to do with. You can't move every muscle and joint for 20 minutes. And when I started presenting that to people, they're like, man, after 3 weeks of doing that, that was legit. I lost weight. I feel better because the baseline's hit.
Right.
In businesses, here's the baseline, or the 3 simple things. Everybody in an organization has to find an opportunity to improve every day. Whether in sales, finding a new opportunity, a new client, even in operations, the person running the CNC has to be thinking, I have to find an opportunity today. I don't know what that would be to them.
Right.
Something new for them to look at. Then I have to perfect the skill that I have. Like running the CNC, I have to go do this CNC thing. If I'm just using that as an example. New opportunity, do the job that you're hired to do, and then know what success looks like. If everybody in the company knows what success looks like in January, so this year, January 2026, if everybody in the organization has a clear moniker in their brain about what their success looks like in December of 26, every decision will be easy to be made. And simple. The process, like if I have to find an opportunity, reach out on LinkedIn. How many people don't even do that?
Right.
Make a cold call. Well, I don't like cold calls. So then you're going to do 0 today? Talk to the chick at the like the gas station. Help her find an opportunity. Still new. And well, I'm not going to go to work today. Damn, dude. You didn't even tell the boss you weren't coming to work. So the tragic effect of not doing simple stuff in an organization is catastrophic.
Taking something complex and turning it into something simple, I really like. That's kind of the mentality that I went into it with, is pretty much what you said, like moving every single day, cutting out the sugar, just move. Like that was my motivation, is just move. It didn't matter what I was doing, just some kind of moving. But going back to what you saying, people just want this hack or like the simple way to do it, or like, how can I make this happen? I think that goes back to when we were touring our facility and we talked about everybody wants everything in 2 or 3 days. It's this new age of just everything's got to be handed to me.
I can
Everything's
get
gotta be
everything
immediate.
virtually.
Right.
I have the experience of doing something virtually. Like you can watch whatever you want on virtual thing, thinking that you're having the experience because your brain and your eyes don't notice the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching somebody work on the CNC machine. I feel like I worked.
I think it goes kind of what you said, though, because I always wanted to do better than my parents did, right? That should be the least that you ask, right? They worked hard. I mean, again, they did the best they could, but I would like to think I did better than them, and I would expect, but the generation you see now, they don't. That's not the same drive.
No. And you've got parents who have that drive. I mean, we had a guy on this past episode, and one of his quotes that he picked out for the show is, he said, the job of a parent is to be the ceiling to their child's floor. So to pretty much lift them up to where that parent's ceiling is the child's floor. And I think now you've got a lot of people who are doing that, but then their kid's not using that floor.
But what I'm saying is it doesn't have to be things. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be even writing a book. Like you say, if you want to write a book. I would be proud of that. My kid, these kids that you meet or whatever, but it's almost to the point, and I'm not just on the generation. They are people that do good things, but it's like the percentage, as you said, the percentage keeps going down. It gets less and less of people who are motivated. And that's something like, what motivates you when you're in that cold water, right? There has to be a switch in your head that goes, I'm not going to quit.
So I another thing you see is, at least on social media and TV, maybe movies, is these special operations guys from Green Beret to Delta, they had a bad upbringing.
Yeah.
Very few have bad upbringing.
Yeah.
It's hard to recover from bad parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you had 100 guys that are Delta, maybe a handful had a crisis when they were like their dad's dead or was abusive, but those seem to be the only things that make drama on social media. Is I was abused as a kid. Very few people can recover from that.
Yeah.
So, not that you asked, great parenting is letting your kids fail.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pick you up. You're going to pick you up. But, wealthy people have a hard time with it.
Mm-hmm.
And stop bailing your kids out without them putting effort to dig themselves out. You can financially dig anybody out of a hole, but then there's still the dumbass who got in the hole. Yeah. That hasn't been recovered.
It's just going to repeat the cycle over and over.
And it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like it was terrible raising, not terrible, but your kids fail. You're like, oh, man. Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't try that. Man, do it again. Get back on the horse. You don't have to do it a third time, but you got to get back on this horse that you got bucked off of. Yeah. Otherwise, the rest of your days are going to be tragic. And worked really well with our kids.
So talking about parenting and everything, what's some mistake that you had made in the past that ended up helping you in the position that you're at now, kind of like as a lesson that you learned?
I think I learned it in the teams. It's so hard to apply constantly, and things take as long as they take. In the teams, we're going to do this until we get it. We can get it in a day, or we're going to be here for a month. We got to get this skill set down, and it'll take as long as it takes. With kids, it takes 18 years. You try it doesn't work. You try it, it works, and then it doesn't work the third time. And the thing of, I can't say I'm a great parent, but don't give up on your kids when they give up daily. And that model of not giving up, I think, is the greatest gift to give a kid. And when they earn something, give it to them. When they don't earn it, don't give it to them. Mm-hmm. And then watch them bloom. Like, Dad, I can do this. Boy, you did it better than I could. Wow, that was awesome. And then they get that. everybody needs a reward in life. You cannot prosper unless you get feedback. I don't know if organizations understand that, but
So that kind of, I kind of want to pull a question from that. So, you talked about letting kids fail and also, not giving up on them. How do you confront someone without just breaking them down?
I had to learn this because my genetic way to confront it is you're dumbass.
Right.
And it shuts people down. It even shuts me down when people say you're a loser. Well, why am I even trying? But I had a mentor in the SEAL teams. He goes, I want to ask you two questions. One is, you just screwed that up, obviously. You're an idiot. What are you going to do now? I'm like, bro, I don't have an answer. So when you berate people, their answer is, I don't know what to do now. He goes, I'm going to ask you another question. And now it sticks with me forever. And I try to teach it when I teach leaders. A great way to lead when people are screwing up. Ask this question. What was that like for you? Like a salesman doesn't hit a sale. CNC machine blows up. What was that like for you? And let them say what, because everybody will answer it. Dude, I didn't know what to do. The thing was on fire. I went and got the fire extinguisher, put it out. I realized I'd screwed up. And then when they can talk it through, they'll give you a solution every time. But when the leader can ask that, then the company will bloom 100% of the time. Or you may have to get rid of the person because in their answer, they'll be like, well, it was your fault. I got the wrong person because they're not going to take ownership of that concept. What is it like for you? Even when, ask anybody anytime, watch the answer they give you. And it's at most 90% of the time people will answer it.
I like that because I feel like we deal with that where it's how do you confront somebody, especially with, the age of workers that we're in is like, how do you talk to somebody without them thinking that you're just berating them?
Yeah. Try that. What is it? A nominal thing. I didn't come to work on time. Don't go, where were you?
Yeah.
That's like saying you're screwed up. Then I have to come up with this answer that I have to conflate it a little bit. Well, my dog ate my paper and there was a wreck on the highway. What's it like for you to be late? Kind of sucks, man. I was in a fight at home and my wife wants to leave me. Wow, I'm now getting something that I can lead on.
We always say
like that.
There's usually something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or they'll just, dude, I totally screwed up today.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come to work. I got a fever. I made the decision to come and it was late. I didn't tell you. But that what it's like for you is a big leadership conversation.
I like that.
If you have time.
Yeah.
Because the answer is not going to be concise. It's going to take like 20 minutes.
So when you were talking and doing your different talks, what did you like to talk about as far as the SEALs? Like, what was the most enjoyable
I had to be taught how to speak. I had to speak into something that people would listen to. How I got to that is this group of, I call them mentors, wealthy people that didn't need anything from me, got together right when we retired. And I was meeting with this group, I don't know, twice a month. And on the third meeting, a guy named Jerry said, hey, I got an option for you. How about you do keynote presentations? I'm like, what the fuck is a keynote presentation? I don't know. I'm like, I wouldn't pay for somebody to come talk to me. We used to hire people to come in that are professionals, like the top shooter in the world, come in and we're going to learn from you. He goes, no. I want you to go present to High Point University because he knew a guy named Nito Cobain, who's the chancellor up there. He goes, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, hold on, what's a keynote? I'm still stuck on this keynote. He goes, I want you to go talk for an hour. What would you say? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, okay, I'll help you here. I want you to tell this group, this whole group hadn't heard, I had been awarded the Silver Star from an op in Afghanistan. He goes, tell us that story. I'm like, what's this got to do with the keynote? He goes, God dang it, just tell the story. I'm like, man. He's just put yourself in that moment of what was happening and talk about what you were going through as a SEAL, as a leader, as a dad, and all those thoughts. And there's a lawyer in the audience, or in that group of 6, and he goes, "Bro, you got 5 minutes." 25 minutes later, he's like, "Okay, just do that. Just go to that moment of combat and talk about what you were experiencing, and you're going to have to interact with people a little more. So a little more influence from them of how to do a presentation to somebody in front of a group that went to, I did that for like 3 years. Probably never told it the same way each time, and which is exhausting, telling
The
stories
same
about,
story.
no, just going back to that moment, which is probably why I don't have PTSD. I got to tell the story so much that I didn't carry it around with me. And there's like penultimate moments in the presentation where I'd been knocked down by a RPG. And when I'm telling it, it's very visceral for me and emotional. And probably about 600 keynotes, maybe 6 I hadn't like teared up in. But I'm tearing up, not now, but during that, telling that group of 6. And the lawyer's like, okay, if you do that, you'll be a professional speaker. I'm like, I don't know what I did. He could just do that. And I went up to High Point on the first opportunity to do a keynote and met Nito Cobain, who's the president, it's like $200,000 to get him to come and speak.
Wow.
And I'm like, hey, Jerry and you are friends. I went up there in uniform, which probably what sold it. And I said, I want to speak on Parents Weekend about, my experience as a father in combat. And he's like, what are you going to say? I said, you just trust me. After an hour, the audience will have some value from it. And he goes, well, how much do you charge? It never occurred to me. And I said, $1,000. He goes, you understand that that's way too low. I said, well, how about 10? He goes, I'll take you on 1,000 because it was universal. And I said, also, I wanted to be coached by you. He goes, I'll give you an opportunity to speak. So it was supposed to be 1 presentation, ended up being 4 because all the parents didn't get to hear it. And then they're like, hey, Nito, we'd like to hear Thom talk. And so I stayed there for 2 days. And at the end of it, he called me into his office and he goes, there's 3 types of speakers. Subject matter experts, like how to set up a CNC machine, where they come in and teach and this is the flow. And there's motivational speakers. He goes, I'm a motivational speaker. I couldn't do what you do. I'm not very interactive. It's all part of a process, and I do the same speech every day that I called in for a year, and then I'll do another speech the next year. But I just follow the same script the whole time, and it's high energy and it's fun and interactive speakers. And I said, which one? Because you're an interactive speaker. And I said, oh, okay, whatever that means. And he goes, I'll tell you something about being a speaker. Speakers speak. I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. Get in front of people and speak. And let it play out. I said, never transact during a keynote. Don't say, hey, buy my book. They'll figure that out. And that probably the best advice for speaking, but I think for anything. Writers write, runners run, manufacturers manufacture.
Yeah.
If you ain't manufacturing, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What are the things that people, when they find out you are a SEAL or you are talking, the questions that you're like, really? Like, I'm sure they are. How many people you've killed, all that stuff.
Speakers won't let it go to a Q&A. But the offbeat conversations, what do you think about like this mission that just happened down?
Yes.
Bro, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I could give you my opinion, but you hear the commentators give you their opinion. Are you more educated?
Yeah.
But I would try to find a way to answer it respectfully.
So when mistakes have happened, let's say I don't know if you remember how far back, like the Jimmy Carter, the 2 helicopters crashing into one another, that kind of stuff. Do you think that's because they they don't let everybody go.
Yeah, 100%. So
yeah.
remember the debacle in the desert going
Yeah.
after Iran?
Mm-hmm.
In foresight, it was screwed up. In hindsight, obviously the lessons learned. It was too many people with their hands in the making of the recipe. If you just left it up to the operators, it would have been somewhat less unsuccessful. Too many people making decisions while you have the CNC machine turning. People are outside going, I don't think I would cut it. Bro,
Yeah.
I can stop it, but now in the stopping of it and turning it, it's going to be a whole different tool, or whatever. Every mistake I've seen in the military is there's too many people involved. So what they did down in South America is they left it up to the operators. How would you guys do this? Well, we need them to jam, and they need to be jamming like 30 minutes prior. We need an F-22, F-35 doing the targeting. So the F-35 is like, you're going to let me do what I'm supposed to do without any ramifications? So everybody was just cut loose, functioned together in timelines, and 3 Delta guys got shot, and they killed like 58.
But it's kind of like kind of like what you said. It just throw the meat on the table and let
Very
them
hard
let them
for
go.
leaders and politicians to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the Bin Laden raid, the reason why it had any problem is because Obama turned it off and then he turned it back on.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go today. Well, today's no illumination and high air density, so the lift of the helo has more. Tomorrow, I have no idea what it's going to be. We were waiting for this perfect opportunity. Obama's like, no, we can't do it today.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
I know you said that one of the most important things for a leader was doing what they say and not giving up. But would you say that being able to throw the meat on the table, for instance, is that equally as important or even more important?
I think it's important as an individual to have the baseline skill of honor your word and don't give up. If you want to call that discipline, I think discipline's a too over-encompassing word that everybody doesn't understand. The basic skill of a leader, I would extend it. Have competent people. It takes a long time to get competent people. Once you have competent people, then throw the meat on the table. Without competency, I can't give you something to do.
Right.
If I don't know how to run one of your machines and you say, well, how would you run this? Dude, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing. But once they're competent, like, hey, I don't know how many we can do. You tell me. Well, of a certain parameter, I can do 6 a day. You can tell me to do 10, but we're going to have 10 imperfect things. I can do 6 perfect. Okay. I'm not going to then go, well, we need 8. I just told you I could do 6.
Right.
Well, we need 8. I'll just get them tomorrow. Okay. Then you come back to the client and go, we can do it in 2 months.
I get it. Everything is relatable. Not that we're Navy SEALs, but it's just one of my quotes was you got to move forward, right? You got to, like sailing. If you're anchored up, you're not sailing.
Yep.
If you don't have the sails up, you're not sailing.
You're bobbing.
Yeah. if you're adrift, that's not sailing. So you got to sail every day. Just keep moving forward. And I'm sure that's how y'all feel when you're on.
Well, yeah, the human factor is the big understanding of SEAL teams. It's human beings doing it. It's not a robot. Maybe robots can do the job better. I don't know, but eyes on is a real thing. Getting human beings at a high level of competency and effectiveness. It takes time, it takes money, and you burn out a lot of people to get there. But the ones that you get are phenomenal for a short period of time.
Yeah. So after a deployment, are y'all like 3 days? Just leave me alone for 3. Is it
no,
like that kind of pressure?
We thought this is definitely relatable to every business.
Yeah.
Before 2001, the SEAL teams were what I called a self-licking ice cream cone. We thought we were the greatest thing in the world. Work hard, work harder, go farther, harder, 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 harder. The on switch is the only thing that matters. The off switch doesn't matter. Then we start going into 2 different wars, Iraq and Afghanistan. And guys can't operate at high levels of anything without a break. But we never taught anybody to take a break.
Mhm.
Even in the middle of combat, take a break. I can't keep shooting at this enemy without taking a step back, taking a breath, eating, drinking, peeing, pooping, all that stuff that they don't teach you. We had to then teach everybody. The off switch is equally as important as the on switch. So the ability to take a break is now driven into all special operators. There's a time where you can't.
Yeah.
You're going to suffer, but your leg's broken. You can take a break, but you're going to die. So that's a cool conversation to have. But the break is the real wisdom of how long can somebody operate with high effectiveness without deteriorating. And then once you find that, you can't break it unless the situation is dire.
Right.
And giving people off time became the key indicator of success of the SEALs.
What is the quickest you've ever went from combat to being back home?
We made mistakes there too. Early on, we were sending people directly from Iraq without a delay
Mm-hmm.
back home, even though the trip is about 3 days to get back.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a mandated 2 days in a hotel
Mm-hmm.
with no responsibility. So a chief came over and relieved me of my responsibility. He goes, you can't make a decision for 2 days. Do whatever you want. Nobody can come to you for a question and answer session. Just chill out before
like
you
that.
go home.
Yeah.
Because guys were going home
Yeah.
and then their kids drop something on the ground and they yell at their kid.
Yeah.
Well, what were you expecting?
Yeah.
So that 2 day delay, I'd like to have been longer,
But 2 days is about
2
how
days.
long?
Yeah.
That's-
And then the 5 days of transit
Yeah.
to get there, about 7 days before you get home. And then it's weird getting home.
I bet.
And, but Stacy and I were good. I would leave work at work, even
Yeah.
when I was not in combat. So I'd had years and years of, when I go home, I go home. I
Yeah.
go home, be with my family. And
Is it a situation that you felt like you don't talk about what goes on with your spouse because you don't want her to worry, or did y'all have a relationship opposite?
I had a previous marriage that she didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
So I couldn't express myself in my, let's go shopping, even though that wasn't what happened.
Yeah.
So Stacy and she loved the fact that I was a SEAL and wanted to hear all about it. I want to hear all the gory stuff.
Yeah.
So initially in our first year of marriage, I would tell her everything and she would listen. And then the more you say, the less you have to say, you know what I mean? But she wanted to hear everything, even like we would get on, it was called Messenger Live before there was all these live things, Yahoo Messenger Live. And I could talk to her in real time and she'd say, what happened? And I would tell her and I'd get rid of I'd have that catharsis of, dude, we all about died and I got shot 4 times and oh my God. And so by the time I was back with the family, she'd already heard it. It wasn't all boiling up in me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then dumped into her and her going, oh my gosh, what's that got to do with Amazon delivery? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I wish more women were like that, but not, they don't all have to be that way. But the authentic sharing that happens is the key.
Yeah.
If you can't share with somebody, you're going to share with somebody else.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
I think that's how me and Kit, we share everything.
Yeah.
I think that's better.
What was the dynamic like with your kids, being gone all that time and then, you're home for a little while?
It's always a
and then gone
vacation.
again?
Every time daddy's home, it's a vacation.
Okay.
Good thing mom's not going to make me clean my room. But when they're young, it's they're always missing you and you're always missing them. And the only reason I got out is my next job that I would pick up, I had to go overseas for 2 years. My daughter was moving into sophomore in high school. And I'm like, I'll never have family. I can take this job, but I don't have a gun anymore. I'm like senior leader. I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. And once I realized I didn't want to do it, I exited because then you're a detriment to everybody else.
Yeah. Have your kids asked you questions like
Everything.
everything
Yeah.
later in life or when they were high school age?
Yeah. Most, they didn't, I would tell them everything, but
Yeah.
they don't have the context in which to hear it as a kid.
Yeah.
But my daughter is now flying helos for SOAR, which is Special Operations
Okay.
Regiment,
Yeah.
and she's an MH6 pilot,
Okay.
and she's lethal.
Awesome.
I haven't. She went to West Point, graduated,
Okay.
and I said, "Don't do any of this for me. Don't prove anything to me. You just be the best you that you can be." They wanted her to go into a Ranger Battalion because she's a stud and she's pretty, which is, it's not like a male version or a female version of me. And I said, "Don't compete with men. I don't care what anybody's telling you. Currently, genetically, we're not equal."
Right.
Yeah.
And the grunt style human being that is on the ground doing dirty things, that's not you.
Yeah.
And they're stronger than you. Whether you can lead from a leadership position without demonstrably being better, I don't think it happens. And she's, "Well, what do you think about pilot?" I'm like, "Any day that ends in Y. That's you being the best that you can be, whatever. And you're not competing against somebody that you're not designed to compete against." And my middle boy is the strongest kid I've ever seen. And he's getting and he hit a lot of rock bottoms. Couldn't learn how to study. Keep trying. And he's getting a master's in business at Clemson,
Nice.
having failed out of high school.
Okay.
Wow.
That's
Hey.
Good. Yeah.
Back in it. And my youngest boy just signed up for the SEAL program.
Okay.
Not
Following in
because
your
I said,
footsteps.
"You're not going to do this
Does it
because
help?
of me."
Does it help if you're like your father? None of that matters, I guess.
No, they don't
Okay,
care.
They don't care. I didn't.
When
know
I was there
I
as
didn't
an
think that way.
instructor,
Yeah.
a lot of legacy guys,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, "Did your dad not spend any time with you?
Yeah.
How the hell do you not know how to do this?" And not many of them make it
Yeah.
because they're trying to prove something to their dad. And
Right.
Yeah.
my boy, I'm like, "Don't try to prove anything to me. If
And
you want to do it, do it." But
what kind of SAT score you have to be a SEAL? Is that part of it, or-
it's an equivalent. It's called the ASFAB.
Yeah.
And it has to be. It's about comparable to the nuke program in
Okay.
intelligence, but imagine 18 different categories that the nuke program ranks. The SEALs rank probably 10 of those.
Yeah.
So in these vertical categories of intellectual capacity,
Yeah.
you have to be in the 88 percentile.
Yeah. So it's not just physical. You have to have the mental too. People need to know
You
that.
don't. It's not really designed for the educated human. To
Okay.
Go, yeah.
Well, you can't be a dummy though.
Well, you
have-
can't. Yeah. I think you have to
Yeah.
be street smart. You have to be able to pick up something very quickly.
Okay.
And I think it's more of the mental game of, like you said, not quitting. I mean, you have
Yeah,
to be able. That's
yeah.
the
The
main
The whole
thing
BUDS
is-
program is to get rid of quitters.
Right.
It's all designed to get. And physically, you have to be relatively good.
Yeah.
It's not. You don't have to. Top athletes never make it through because they're used to being number one, and then day 3 of training, you can't even do a push up, and they're not used to losing.
Yeah.
And then being beaten, and having to function when you're cold and tired and somebody yelling at you. But that's all designed. Like the only program I think should never change, because if you don't change it, we know what we get. If you change 2% of it, I don't know that the quality will be the same.
what you'll get. So you said that you picked out a quote to bring on today. I'm interested to hear what it is.
It may be relevant. I think it is to every human being in the context of all the stuff we've been talking about. Don't do stupid shit. I keep every organization I work with, stupid shit deteriorates everything in an organization, even at home. Think about all the stuff you do that's stupid. You're like, that's going to have ramifications.
Right.
And in the SEAL teams, that's the key monikers. Stop doing stupid shit. Stop.
Simple and straightforward.
Yep.
Yep.
I have two questions.
Yeah, I was about to say, Travis has two
I have
questions and I
two.
always end
So
on one.
The first one is, what is something that nobody knows anything about you? I'm sure your wife knows, but just the normal people you interact with that wouldn't know about you.
Everything's hard for me the first time. I don't think I've ever done one thing where I picked it up and been like, man, that was wizard.
Yeah.
Everything is hard. And my son and my daughter says, Dad, everything you do is so easy. because you're seeing it at 40 years of doing it. I try to keep that as a secret.
Yeah.
I want everybody to think I'm good at everything. Dude, I've done it 1,000 times. I've screwed up 922 of them.
So picking up a rifle, the muscle react, it's just everything. You could go right back to. I'm sure you've trained.
No,
oh really?
my stuff attrits so quickly.
Oh, really?
I hate it. Another thing is if you ain't practicing, you're never going to be good at something.
Yeah.
And all practicing is screwing up.
Yeah. The other thing is, what's your proudest moment to now?
Getting remarried was one.
Okay.
Because ain't nobody ever going to marry me. I had 2 kids, and I'm gone 250 days a year.
Yeah.
And I just obviously failed at another marriage. Who would ever marry me? So finding Stacy was, I wouldn't call it proud, but illuminating moment.
Okay.
Seeing my daughter born was an illuminating moment. It, from the human I was before, died. Like, oh, dude, I'm not the same human being anymore. And then seeing my kids leave the nest.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my God, they don't need me anymore,
Yeah.
which was hard.
Yeah.
Like for 2 weeks, Stacy and I were like, dude, who are we now? We just spent, 26 years raising kids. And it was a lot of dull moments. I don't know if I want to do half the things I do anymore, because it was because I wanted to be a good dad.
Do you have grandkids yet?
Not yet.
When you do?
I heard that.
Oh, man.
Well, my daughter's married, but she has a 5-year commitment to fly.
Yeah.
If she gets pregnant, she can't fly anymore.
Yeah.
So my question changes a little bit, or I structure it a little different for everybody. But if you can look back on day one of walking into SEAL training and then where you're sitting today, how does success look on day one of SEAL training to you versus how success looks like to you now?
Man, that's a deep one.
I know.
Youth is wasted on the young. Raw dog, hard effort is what youth puts into everything, as opposed to now everything to me is a process. Develop a process. Don't look outside the process and hammer the process until you arrive, is what I look at as an adult. As a kid, excitement, energy, and double down on excitement and energy. And it may get you one step. It doesn't get you the second step. And success to me is a process. If you don't have a process, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, I like that.
Or you'll just chase another thing that doesn't have a process.
Mm-hmm.
You may luck into a lottery win, but
Blind drill it.
So I guess the last thing would be, where can everybody find you if they wanted to, read your book, maybe come to one of your courses?
Have a website, thomshea.com, THOMSHEA.com, and we're updating it now because we have 15 events this year that we've just finally got authority to execute on. And the book's on Amazon. If you can find Unbreakable anymore, it's on Amazon. 3 Simple Things is also on Amazon.
Okay. Well, Tom, we really appreciate you coming on. It was an interesting conversation. Appreciate your time.